You're listening to Corner Room, where we break down the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back. I'm Alex, and I'm here with my co-host for another deep dive. We've got a really fascinating set of sources today. We've been looking at everything from leadership memos to hundreds of millions of dollars moving through venture capital.
We have. And our mission today is to try and connect these dots. We're looking at two big forces that are quietly shaping, the next decade in tech. First, the philosophy of how leaders manage their people.
Right. And second, where the money that fuels all that ambition is actually going.
Exactly. When you look at these headlines by themselves, Nvidia's CEO on structure, Meta's product managers coding, a big new VC fund, they just look like separate stories.
But they're not.
They're really not. When you put them together, a picture starts to form. And that's what we're going to do today. Distill what all these moves tell us about how the tech world is chasing efficiency, speed, and placing these just massive foundational bets.
I think the best place to start is right at the top, with the leaders, because this isn't just about, small org chart changes. We're seeing a real evolution in management philosophy. It's moving away from that old model of just delegating tasks.
It really is. And the management style, it seems to me, directly reflects the speed of the industry. Take Nvidia's CEO, Jensen Huang. One of our sources has him explaining his approach, and it's all about teaching employees how to think.
Not just what to do.
Precisely. It's a huge distinction.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Why is that so critical? I mean, especially in a field like AI that moves, just incredibly fast. Shouldn't employees just execute the strategy?
That's the traditional way, sure. But in a field like AI, the problems you solved last month are kind of already obsolete. If Huang just gives out instructions, those instructions have a shelf life of maybe a few weeks. But by teaching the foundational thinking, the first principles, the reasoning, he's basically equipping everyone to solve the next 100 problems that don't even exist yet.
Yeah.
It scales the company's brain,
That makes so much sense. It's almost like an organizational immune system against becoming outdated. And what's really interesting is that this isn't just a one-off. Elon Musk has said almost the exact same thing.
He has. And when you see two leaders in such different high-stakes fields landing on the same core principle, you know it's a major shift.
So for you, the listener, if you're trying to constantly learn, this is huge. It changes your role from just being a cog in a machine to being a self-directed problem solver.
It's a necessary response to complexity, but it's not the only model.
Okay, so let's contrast that deep philosophical model with something a little more aggressive. Let's talk about the operational intensity at Meta. Because if Huang is all about strategic depth, Mark Zuckerberg's environment seems laser-focused on one thing: velocity.
It's a perfect contrast, and you can see it really clearly in how they define the role of a product manager or PM.
PMs are usually the strategists. They define the what's and the why. They write the specs. They live in Jira and PowerPoint.
And they absolutely do not touch the code, traditionally.
But that's the pivot here, isn't it? At Meta, our sources say PMs are expected to get their hands dirty.
Very dirty. They're often required to build rapid prototype apps or even just code snippets directly for Zuckerberg to review.
Wait, so they're literally short-circuiting the whole development cycle?
That's the idea. Think of it like this. Instead of a chef writing a recipe and giving it to a cook, the chef just grabs the ingredients and makes a tiny version of the dish right there on the spot to show you exactly what it tastes like.
I love that. So if you're a PM there, you can't just hide behind a slide deck. You have to have enough technical skill to actually prove your concept instantly.
It's all about shortening that feedback loop. When you're trying to innovate across AI, VR, social media, the cost of waiting is just too high. The pro is pure speed and direct communication.
But let's push on that. Doesn't that create a risk? If PMs, who are supposed to be thinking about long-term strategy, are bogged down coding little features, couldn't they lose sight of the big picture?
That is the big risk. Absolutely. Role confusion, burnout, maybe a focus on short-term wins over long-term vision. But I think the bet Meta's making is that their talent is so strong and the need for speed is so high that they see that role blurring as a feature.
Not a bug.
Exactly. They're choosing rapid experimentation over clean, traditional roles. Prototyping fast is now a core competency for strategy.
So whether it's Huang's deep thinking or Zuckerberg's radical speed, these models need fuel. Constant, massive, and very targeted investment.
Precisely. This kind of operational intensity, it only works if you have VCs willing to write huge checks based on where they think the future is heading.
And that brings us to the money. Let's talk about the big figures in venture capital, especially Marc Andreessen. There's this this anticipation building around his firm.
There is. A lot of the chatter is about Andreessen Horowitz getting ready to summon what's being called NYC Swagger for a huge IPO, probably in 2025.
NYC Swagger. What does that actually mean in this context?
It's a signal. It means bringing a massive, high-profile company to the public market with so much confidence and financial force that it sets the tone for the entire tech sector. It raises the expectation for big returns everywhere.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Now, where is the money actually landing right now? And it seems like it's overwhelmingly going into AI infrastructure, the plumbing.
Yes. Everyone is talking about the AI models, the software, but the smart VCs are betting heavily on the physical hardware that makes it all run. Our sources point to a company called CoreWeave, or CRWV, as one of the best in this space.
So why them specifically? I mean, you've got Amazon, Google, Microsoft, the giants. What makes a company like CoreWeave the target?
Specialization. They are totally focused on high-performance GPU clusters. That's the very specific, very powerful hardware you need to train and run these massive AI models.
So they're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Not at all. The big cloud providers are like a Swiss Army knife. CoreWeave is like a custom-built Formula One engine just for AI. That's why the VCs are all in. It's the classic selling shovels in a gold rush.
You don't know which AI company will win, but you know they all need the shovels.
You got it. It's a bet on the foundational layer.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because the money isn't just going to AI. The VCs are hedging their bets.
They are. The financial flow is diversifying. And this is really important.
Let's pivot to that other frontier then.
Yeah.
I guess you'd call it a resurgence of investment in blockchain and Web3. This is happening despite all the market volatility.
The sources show it very clearly. Hashkey Capital, a big name in this space, just announced the first close of their new fund IV, raising $250 million.
$250 million. That is a massive vote of confidence, especially after the last few years. This isn't speculative money chasing token prices.
No, the fund's explicit goal is to accelerate global blockchain adoption. They're investing in the long-term structural stuff.
Like
Institutional DeFi infrastructure, tools to make different blockchains work together, regulatory tech, basically all the boring, essential plumbing that would allow big corporations and banks to actually use this technology safely and at scale.
So if we connect the dots, we have big money flowing into the immediate high-demand needs of today. That's the AI infrastructure like CoreWeave. And at the same time, it's flowing into the long-term structural foundations of tomorrow, which is the blockchain adoption through Hashkey. That's a very smart, calculated portfolio.
It shows a real maturity in the VC space. They know they have to fund the AI boom for the immediate returns, but they aren't ignoring the potential of decentralized systems down the road. They're funding both at the same time.
Yeah, so let's tie this all together. We started with leaders demanding either deep thinking or radical speed. And we've ended with the capital that's funding both of those models.
To sum it up, the sources are really pointing to a dual track for success in tech right now. On one track, you have leaders like Huang and Musk who are trying to build these empowered, decentralized teams that can handle complexity.
And that model is supported by long-term foundational bets.
Yeah.
Like the kind we see in blockchain.
Exactly. Then on the other track, you have organizations like Meta prioritizing just raw...
And that approach is fueled by massive investment in the immediate velocity-enabling hardware, like the GPU clusters from CoreWeave.
These two things, the innovative organizational structures and the highly targeted capital, are defining the entire landscape. You need both to win.
Which brings us to our final thought for you to take with you. We all spend so much time wondering what the next big product will be, the next phone, the next app. But maybe we should be asking a different question. Consider how these two models, the high-speed coding PM versus the how-to-think philosophy, will change how all companies operate, not just in tech. Which one will spread faster across the rest of the economy? That's the real revolution to watch.
Something to think about as you decide what skills you want to prioritize for yourself.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into leadership and the flow of global tech finance.
Catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning into Corner Room.